Milling Through History presents The Bandit Queen. Pearl Hart was born on November the 13th, 1876 in Lindsay, Ontario, Canada. Daughter to rich religious parents, Pearl would go to boarding school where she became enamored with a man that she met by the name of Hart, and the two would elope. Their marriage was a shaky one at best, and oftentimes the two would split up. In 1893, she would go to the Chicago World's Fair and became enamored with the cowboy lifestyle after seeing the Buffalo Bill Wild West show. Following the fair, she would travel to Colorado and eventually down to Arizona. Once she had reached the Southwest, it was at this time she would become an outlaw. In 1898, Pearl would make the acquaintanceship of an individual by the name of Joe Boot, the name having most likely been that of an alias. The two would work together, and on May the 30th, 1899, they would rob one of the last stagecoaches still in operation. The coach, which had not seen a robbery in numerous number of years, was riding along through the Arizona desert without a shotgun messenger. As such, both Pearl and Joe were able to successfully rob the stagecoach of $431. Following the robbery, the two would set off into the desert. Now, it is difficult to determine whether or not they had gotten lost or they had decided to take a very circuitous route in an attempt to throw off anyone who might be pursuing them. What is known, however, is that on June the 5th, 1899, the two were captured, and the sensationalism of a female stagecoach robber would take the nation by storm. Reporters flocked down into Arizona and, taking pictures of her, would go ahead and turn Pearl Hart into a media sensation. Now, for Pearl, one of the unique things is that she was placed into a prison cell which was not traditionally built for male prisoners. Hers would allow her to have an opportunity to escape, and after cutting a hole through her wall, she would escape prison only to be recaptured just a few months later. In October of 1899, she was put on trial for her part in the stagecoach robbery, and yet was acquitted of the crime. The judge, amazed by the jury's decision, scolded them, indicating that they had not done their duty for the cause of justice. She would be put on trial a second time for tampering with the mail service, and, unlike the first, she was found guilty. Pearl was sentenced to prison for 5 years. However, being the only female in an all-male prison, Pearl would receive special treatment, as she would get from the warden a larger cell, which would allow her to entertain guests and even tend her own private garden. In 1902, Pearl Hart was given a pardon and released from prison, and while the exact reasons for this pardoning have been speculated, one of the things that was certainly ironclad from this pardon was that once Pearl was released from prison, she would have to leave the territory immediately. Upon her release, she was given a train ticket to Kansas, placed on the train, and would never be seen or heard from ever again, at least in Arizona. After leaving, Pearl would reenact her crime for crowds and would eventually join the Buffalo Bill Wild West show under an assumed name. According to some sources, she would eventually find her way back into Yuma, where she would visit her old cell under a different name. And, thanks to pop culture, she was later given the nickname of the Bandit Queen. Pearl would pass away on December the 28th, 1955, as one of the last Wild West outlaws in the country who was at that time still alive. Now be sure to click like, share, and subscribe for future episodes of Milling Through History, and leave comments below for future episode ideas. And be sure to take a look at our suggested reading page.